It was Halloween morning when a young mom in Michigan vanished without a trace. Her car was found near a rural road, the engine still warm, her phone inside, but she was gone. Within hours, police would uncover a connection no one saw coming. The prime suspect wasn't a stranger in a mask. He was her pastor, a man of God, hiding a secret darker than anyone imagined. Rebekah Gay was born on March 26, 1988, in Midland, Michigan, the kind of place where families knew each other by name and kindness was part of daily life. She was one of 4 children raised by Thomas and Sally Gay, alongside her siblings James, Aaron, and Deborah. Those who knew her say Rebekah's heart was bigger than most. She was quiet but warm, the kind of person who smiled with her whole face and listened with her whole soul. Teachers at Bullet Creek High remembered her as gentle, compassionate, and impossibly kind. She loved animals, joined the equestrian team, and even volunteered for charity events to help local families in need. That compassion wasn't something she learned, it was something she was. After high school, Rebekah studied cosmetology. She wanted to help people feel beautiful, not just on the outside, but in the way that changes someone's day. And though her dreams were big, her heart had room for even more love. In 2009, she became a mother to a little boy named Conway. He was her world. Every night she tucked him into bed, read him a story, whispered a prayer, and kissed him goodnight. Her faith and motherhood woven together like 2 threads of the same soul. Friends said she lived for him. Family said she glowed when he laughed. She was simply love in motion. By 2012, Rebekah had fought hard to find balance, working as a stylist at Borix Hair Care, then later at a Goodwill store in Mount Pleasant. The work wasn't glamorous, but she showed up every day with a smile and dedication that stood out. Her supervisors saw potential. Her coworkers saw grace. That year, Rebekah's efforts paid off. She was promoted to a management position. She'd also recently moved to a modest trailer home in Broomfield Valley Trailer Park, a quiet community surrounded by trees, laughter, and the occasional sound of kids playing outside. It wasn't fancy, but it was hers, a home she filled with love, decorations, and warmth for her little boy. And then, love found her again. Aaron Quinn entered her life, and for the first time in years, Rebekah let herself dream about the future. Marriage, a blended family, stability, happiness. Everything she'd worked so hard for finally felt within reach. That autumn, life was sweet. And Halloween, Conway's favorite holiday, was just around the corner. Rebekah went all in. 8 scarecrows on the porch, pumpkins by the window, little ghosts made of tissues hanging from strings. It was meant to be a magical night for a little boy in a superhero costume. But Rebekah never made it to Halloween that year. On the morning of October 31st, 2012, Rebekah didn't show up for work. For anyone else, that might not have raised alarms right away. But this was Rebekah, responsible, punctual, and dependable. She would have called. A coworker, uneasy, drove to her trailer to check on her. The car was still in the driveway. The door was unlocked. Her purse sat on the counter untouched, but Rebekah was gone. And so was her 3-year-old son, Conway. Within hours, police arrived and began canvassing the trailer park. Neighbors were questioned. Friends called. Timelines drawn. She'd last been seen the night before on October 30th, and then nothing. The community's concern quickly turned into fear. At the Christ Community Fellowship Church nearby, the congregation gathered to pray. Leading the prayer that morning was Pastor John White, a man who was not only the church's shepherd, but also Rebekah's soon-to-be stepfather. Engaged to her mother, Sally, he prayed for Rebekah's safe return. But the truth was, he already knew she'd never be coming home. To his small congregation, he was a man of faith, a pastor who spoke about redemption and the power of forgiveness. He quoted scripture about light and darkness, about sins washed clean. But behind that gentle smile and well-worn Bible was a history so dark, it should have never been hidden. Decades earlier, in 1980, White attacked a teenage neighbor, stabbing her repeatedly in his basement. Somehow she survived, and he was convicted. But through legal technicalities and mental health claims, he was released after just 2 years. He went on to live an ordinary life, on the surface at least. Married, worked jobs, went to church. But the violence in him never really went away. In 1994, another woman, 26-year-old Vicky Sue Wall, vanished after being seen with him. Her body was later found dumped in a rural field. White pleaded to a reduced charge and served 12 years. When he was released in 2007, he moved north to Isabella County and reinvented himself as a pastor. A man who once confessed to violent fantasies about women was now standing behind a pulpit, preaching about salvation. No one knew. Not the parole board, not the congregation, not Sally, not Rebekah. He moved into the same trailer park as them. He babysat Conway. He joined their family dinners. He was the man they trusted completely, and in that trust, he found opportunity. On the evening of October 30th, 2012, the trailer park was still, wrapped in the chill of late autumn. Inside a small trailer, John White sat drinking beer and watching disturbing material that fed the darkest corners of his mind. Hours later, under the cover of night, he walked the short distance to Rebekah's home. The door, as always, was unlocked. This was family, after all. Rebekah was asleep, her Bible and devotional beside her bed. Her little boy, Conway, was sleeping in the next room, dreaming about candy and costumes. White crept in. And what happened next was the moment every horror story becomes real. He struck Rebekah with a rubber mallet, then tightened a zip tie around her neck. Within minutes, the light of one of the kindest souls in Michigan was gone. He left her body wrapped and carried it out into the darkness, abandoning her beneath a stand of pine trees a mile away. Then, in one of the most chilling acts imaginable, he returned to the trailer, waited until sunrise, dressed Conway in his Halloween costume, and drove him to his father's workplace, pretending everything was normal. He'd just murdered the boy's mother hours earlier. Police questioned everyone, neighbors, co-workers, Rebekah's fiancé, even her ex. But suspicion kept circling back to one man, Pastor John White. At first he denied it. Then his story began to change. When detectives discovered his criminal past, the picture came into sharp, horrifying focus. They appealed to his supposed faith, asking him to help give Rebekah a proper burial. Eventually, the mask cracked. White confessed to everything. He told investigators where they could find her body. They followed his directions to a shallow ditch, and there she was, the woman whose life had been nothing but love and light, taken by the very man her family trusted most. White was charged with murder. In court, he showed no emotion. Rebekah's family filled the room wearing shirts with her name printed across their hearts. Her mother, Sally, spoke for nearly 20 minutes, addressing the man she once planned to marry, the man who destroyed her family from the inside. "Rebekah was kind to you," she said through tears. "She defended you." Her sister Deborah pleaded for a national violent offender registry, arguing that if the truth about his past had been public, Rebekah would still be alive. The judge agreed that White was a danger to society, a predator who should never walk free again. He was sentenced to 56 to 85 years, a de facto life sentence. But evil has a way of taking the coward's path. 5 months later, in August 2013, John White took his own life in his cell. No apologies, no redemption, no answers, just silence. In the years since that awful Halloween, Rebekah's family has worked tirelessly to turn their grief into something meaningful. Her sister continues to advocate for a violent offender registry, a law that could save others from the same fate. A trust fund was created for Conway, ensuring his mother's love and legacy would continue to support him as he grows. He's being raised by his father, surrounded by family who tell him stories about the mom who loved him more than anything in the world. Every Halloween, candles are lit in Rebekah's memory. Her family gathers not in fear, but in remembrance. They talk about her laugh, her patience, her faith, her devotion to her son, and they remind each other of what she stood for: kindness, faith, family. Because this isn't the story of a killer pretending to be holy. It's the story of a woman whose light was stolen, but never extinguished. Rebekah Gay was more than her death. She was a mother, a daughter, a sister, and a friend. She mattered. She was loved. And she should still be here. It was Halloween morning when a young mom in Michigan vanished without a trace. Her car was found near a rural road, the engine still warm, her phone inside, but she was gone. Within hours, police would uncover a connection no one saw coming. The prime suspect wasn't a stranger in a mask. He was her pastor, a man of God hiding a secret darker than anyone imagined.